everyone, I'm Drew Brown, and it looks like we're in for another episode of Animanga. What am I reviewing today, you may ask? Well, I wrote the maids on the back of my hand, so I guess let's get on with the review. Here's the maids. A maid is someone whose occupation is to work within someone's household, typically cooking, cleaning, or doing other menial tasks for someone and staying in their home. The maid in the way you're probably thinking of, with the black and white frilly dress and motherly demeanor, was very popular in the Victorian era, which lasted from June 20th, 1837, until Queen Victoria passed away on January 22nd, 1901. Maids are often... Wait, what? I'm not reviewing maids in general? I'm reviewing an anime about maids? Well, what show is it? Yeah, alright. I get it now. Let's actually get this review of And Yet the Town Moves on the road. And Yet the Town Moves is a show centered around a girl named Hotori Arashiyama. She's kind of airheaded and clumsy, but very well expressive, you could say. She and her friend Toshiko Tatsuno work in this maid cafe called Seaside, where they get into all kinds of trouble. I guess they also get into all kinds of trouble outside of the cafe, but we'll get to that in a second. There's also the head maid, an old lady that has owned the cafe for years. Sanada, Tatsuno's crush and crusher of Arashiyama, and a bunch of others that come and go as well. The town moves. I like this show a lot because from the beginning, the show is not only about Arashiyama and her goofy adventures, it's about her influence on the town and the townspeople in general. There are a handful of episodes that center around the other characters from the town, like Arashiyama's family, her math teacher, or Tatsuno, that show just how much the town, moves, and Arashiyama's influence on that movement. This comes to play especially in the final episode, which I won't spoil, but it is definitely one of those final episodes that makes you unexpectedly feel kind of sad in a stark contrast to how funny the show is in general. It's a great cap for the show, and in my opinion, probably the best cap the show could have gotten. I have a soft spot for anime and media in general that not only center around a group of characters, but a setting as well. Deadly Premonition, Twin Peaks, JoJo Part 4, and Persona 4 are among some of my favorites that fit this bill. It's so intriguing when a story is able to make a setting of a story almost seem like a character of its own. It's great to see how Arashiyama and the others interact with this other character. Like when she shows her little brother what it's like to stay out past midnight, or when the other town's members come into the cafe and cause a ruckus. I think And Yet the Town Moves definitely has a great dynamic with how the cast interacts with the town, and that's one of my favorite things about the show. You might think the show is some sort of adventure or mystery, and you're kind of right in a loose sense. This show is mainly a comedy that's episodic in nature, meaning the episodes don't really have a sort of continuity between one another. Now don't be discouraged though because the show is a comedy or something, because it's funny. This show has some of the funniest moments in anime that keep me laughing until the very end. The overdramatic presentation of everything and how the characters interact in the fast-paced direction only enhance the jokes tenfold, and it's all because of good old Shaft. Remember when you were watching Bakemonogatari or Madoka Magica and thought, this is cool and all, but what if Madoka and the gang were all maids and just kind of vibe together and it was funny instead of, Madoka? Well, good news for you, Chief. And Yet the Town Moves is a Studio Shaft production, and it shows. There's weird zooms, Japanese wordplay, fast cuts, and even the trademark Shaft head tilt. I'd go so far to say that if it wasn't for the fast-paced direction Shaft provides, this show wouldn't hit half as hard as it did. A lot of the writing works hand in hand with the direction and animation that Studio Shaft is known for. The best examples of this are the scenes with the math teacher, Moriaki. All of his scenes are always highly dramatic, and his voice actor, known for Joseph Joestar himself, absolutely nails the delivery of each line he says and makes each episode or scene he's in really make me laugh. That isn't to say that there isn't thought-provoking, serious moments as well. Almost every episode starts with narration about a concept having to do with life. A few presented our love, the passage of time, and even, as the show calls it, lost technologies. Each episode ties in with the theme that is presented at the beginning by the narration and is tied up nicely again by the narration at the end. It's like experiencing a nice meal, where you start and end perfectly, but everything in between is nice as well. Like Monogatari, there's a lot to unpack in each episode, which is why I rewatched it before reviewing it. Well, maybe not as much as Monogatari, but for a show of this nature, there definitely is a lot to unpack. I'd also like to point out that the ending and especially the opening are a couple of my favorites in anime, period. The song choice and the overall presentation is so charming and fun that it just makes me smile every time I see them. They have such a goofy feel to them while also being really well made and just fun to watch, which in essence is what a good OP and ED should be. Another thing I like about this show is that it isn't afraid to kind of go off the rails in a setting that seems so grounded. There's plot lines that revolve around aliens, ghosts, and other things like cursed artifacts or even time travel. Again, these strange themes aren't overbearing at all, and in general make for a really funny episode. It doesn't feel too absurd in this universe that there's aliens walking around or ghosts just chilling. I think that also has to do with how overly dramatic the cast can be, and again, the direction and exaggerated animation style of Studio Shaft. The cast seems so strange and outlandish themselves that Paranormal Activity is just another oddity to add to the world. And yet the Town Moves may not be an anime staple like Monogatari or Madoka Magica, but I seriously think that it's a hidden gem that many look over from Shaft. It still has just as much Shaft charm as Monogatari, and the writing is top notch. The only thing I noticed that could be considered a criticism is that a lot of the humor relies on Japanese wordplay or culture in general. However, if you've watched Monogatari or shows with a similar style, I don't think you'll have much trouble with this one. The Japanese inside humor isn't enough to make the show not funny. Sometimes you just have to pause and read the translator's notes to see what they're saying. And yet the Town Moves originated as a manga by Masakazu Ishiguro in 2005 and consists of 16 volumes. It was adapted into animation by Studio Shaft in 2010 and was directed by Akuyuki Shinbo. It's a fantastic series that I recommend to anyone who likes comedy and slice of life with an interesting and innovative type of direction. Trust me, it's definitely one of anime's best hidden gems. Well fellas, that's a wrap on episode 3 of Animanga. Anything you'd like me to review? Want to complain about how I've really only done slice of life anime so far? Send a pure, frank, and maid-like tweet to ZTV Goofing Off with the hashtag Animanga. Until next time.
メイド清く正しく潔くシーサイドは